Welcome to Elevating La Cultura podcast, a space where I talk with Latinas who are passionate about what they do and willing to share their wisdom with others to change the narrative, especially for the next generation. Each season is centered around different topics, but all with a Latina perspective. This is season 2, focused on health and wellness. So vámonos, and let's get into it. Hola and welcome back. I'm so excited for this next interview with Evelia, owner of Mi Tierra. She spilled all the tea when it comes to the cosmetic industry. Evelia has been in the industry for over 15 years, and when she became pregnant with her first child, she decided to take a stand and develop products that she could trust and knew that would be nourishing to her body. She encourages us to be more thoughtful about what we put on our bodies and how we can look back to our ancestors and their connection to the earth when it comes to taking care of ourselves. So please enjoy my conversation with Evelia. I'm excited to introduce my friend Evelia from Mi Tierra, but I'll let her introduce herself and tell you all about her business and her story. So why don't you go ahead?
Thank you so much, Karina. I'm so excited to be here and being a part of your awesome podcast. I'm definitely a listener, so I was really honored when you asked if I could come on and speak with you today. So thank you for having me. So I'm Evelia. I am the owner and founder of Mi Tierra. We are a natural skincare company here in Chicago. I am a mother of 3 beautiful girls. I married my high school sweetheart, and I'm born and raised in Chicago as well. So,
yes, I feel like I connected with you maybe a few years ago, pre-pandemic. Mm-hmm. I feel like everything is like pre-pandemic. I know. But through Chicago Latina Moms, yes. And you were at an event, or I came across your products and like loved them, and was like, okay, I need to like start taking care of myself and like my skin, especially since I go to Mexico pretty regularly and tan, and I like make sure to get as much sun as I can, and like I'm using like SPF like 4 so that I can get as much color as I can in like the week that we're on vacation. Yeah, so I'm just like, man, I'm in my 30s. I need to like actually treat my skin well. Yeah. And I really liked your products. I liked that they were natural. I liked that they like smelled good and like made your skin feel fresh. But I feel like I became like a believer, or like all in with your products this past winter. So my son has eczema. My daughter has eczema, but my son gets it like so bad. And we had tried like so many different things. And you came out with a cactus cream.
Yeah, our cactus beauty cream.
Yes, and I bought it for myself. I was like, I'm going to treat myself to this cream for my face. Yeah. And it was one of the first products that I purchased. And I was like, let me try this on my son. Yeah. And it was the only thing that worked to clear up his skin.
It's amazing.
Like 100%. And I was shocked. Like I was, but I wasn't. I was like very thankful that it worked. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I'm not using any other products, because everything else like either just made it less, but it didn't get rid of it. Or like or it made it worse, like it made it flare up. And like I was like, okay, I need to learn more about these products. I need to purchase more of these products. So I really appreciated that
amazing. I love hearing those stories because we get them all the time, and it just makes me feel like, you know, this is all like worth it. It helps me like keep going, you know, to keep researching these ingredients, creating new products, you know, so that when I get feedback like that, I'm like, I cry. Like I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing, you know, because it's one thing for you to believe it and for you to make it, you know, but when other people see it and see the value of it, it's like, it's amazing.
one time I was like out, or I was working and my husband couldn't find the cream, and so he put something else on and it flared up, and I was like, oh my goodness, like we cannot put anything except for your products on his skin.
So yeah, thank you.
So yes, why don't you tell us the story behind your business and what brought you to creating this brand?
Yeah. So my personal background. So I come from the cosmetic industry. So I went to school for marketing, for marketing and advertising. And one of my first jobs was in the cosmetic industry. So right off the bat in college, or once I graduated college, one of my first jobs was working for a hair care company. So after that, I transitioned from one company to another. I was always in that industry. So from hair care, skincare, all of that. So I did that for over 10 years. And I always loved it. Like, I knew, it's crazy because everyone's like, how did you get into marketing? You don't really find a lot of Latinos in this field specifically, Mm-hmm. And ever since I was a little girl, I knew I loved the idea of branding and ads, and I was always fascinated by that. So when I worked in the industry, I learned a lot about what happens behind the scenes to bring a product to market, from conception to it being at shelf at Target, So I was really fascinated by that whole process. I was really involved in the process. My title was a brand development manager. So my job was to research ingredients, go to the lab and say, hey, the chemists were like the chefs, right? And my job was to give them a dish idea. So I would come with these ideas, they would make these concoctions, bring them back to me. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? So there was a lot of that interaction going on. So I learned a lot from my own research, from the chemists that I would work with about ingredients. But something always ate at me, because although I love the process, I hated the fact that it wasn't regulated. There was no, I remember the first time I was like, okay, cool, we came up with this cream. So when are we going to test it? What is the testing process before it launches? And they're like, oh, there's no testing. There's nothing that we don't need to test this before for safety or anything like that. And they're like, no, we launch the products. As long as the vendors tell us that these ingredients are safe, then we could launch it. So that didn't sit well with me, because marketing at the end of the day could be deceptive, in the sense where if a product says, it's made with 100% shea butter, and the whole ad and the whole commercial talks about shea butter, but it only needs to have 1% shea butter in order for it to be marketed, and that's totally legal. So that was my job. My job was to come up with this copy, with the ads, with all of that, with the packaging. I worked with the graphic designers to create this packaging. And knowing that there was 1% of this shea butter inside, but then I had to talk about the amazing benefits that shea butter had, but it had nothing in it. It was mostly water, which is another thing I would love to get into. So it was a constant struggle, knowing that I was part of that process, But I love the creative side of it. I love creating these new products. So the shift within me started when I became pregnant with my now almost 10-year-old daughter, where I really started becoming an advocate for myself, first of all, what goes on my body, because now I'm pregnant and now I have a baby growing inside of me, and I know what's inside these products, and I'm not going to, contribute to that toxic load on my body. So, because before I was like, okay, well, although these products are being made, there's still some sort of sense of safety, right? They wouldn't make these products and put them on shelf if they weren't somewhat safe, right? So I kind of told myself that lie for me to continue to use them, work for these manufacturers. But again, the shift happened when I became pregnant. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do this. I couldn't quit my job at that moment, but I started changing what I use at home for myself. So that's when it began for me, is when I started making my products. And the first product that I ever made was a body butter, which is a lotion, essentially. And I sell them now till this day because, you know, our bellies begin to grow. I didn't want the stretch marks. And I'm like, algo tiene que ser natural, you know, for me to put on my body because our skin is our largest organ. It absorbs everything that we put on. Or we put into our skin. And some people, like, when I say that, they're like, really? Like, how is that possible? We're not eating it. Yeah. You know, how is it absorbing? And I just always use the example of, like, people that, like, smoke, for example. What's being sold to you to quit? And oftentimes it's a nicotine patch. So if you're putting that on your skin, imagine how strong that is to work so quickly for you to stop smoking. So imagine what you put topically every day. Same thing. It goes right into your bloodstream, into your system. So that's when it started to shift. So from that point on, I knew, like, I was going to continue to create these products. You know, my family was also very involved in that process. Like, we all love natural and organic, like everything, you know, making everything from scratch, things like that. So I did that for years and years. Like, I still stayed in my job. I transitioned to different companies. But I knew in the back of my mind, like, that I wasn't happy anymore with doing that, knowing what I knew. And I've always had an entrepreneurial, like, spirit, you know. I come from, like, generational entrepreneurship, even if it's in Mexico, like in a fonda. Like, my grandma used to sell food, you know. My mom was always an entrepreneur. She was a stay-at-home mom, but she always wanted to hustle. She always sold, like, topperware and jafra, and, you know, she did everything she could to bring in an income. So I always, like, had that in me, and I knew, and I after working in the industry for so long, I'm like, this isn't that hard, you know. Like, yes, these people have millions of dollars and they're able to invest all this money into launching a brand that, if I really want to do this, I could do this. Like, everyone starts somewhere, you know, and I did. So 3 years ago in 2017, I had my second daughter, and at that time I was doing a lot of traveling for work. I was going all over the world, from Colombia to Italy to London to Chile. I mean, I was everywhere. Again, marketing these products, pushing these products. I dealt a lot with international distribution, which is a whole different, I would love to get into that too, like how ingredients are just regulated differently in different parts of the world. And I knew I wanted to stay home. Like, my mom was home with me and with us growing up, but she was still able to bring in an income, you know, help my dad out. And so those conversations started happening with my husband, like, how can I do this? Can I do this? Should I do this? Like, you know, we hustled and we go to school. You know, I worked really hard to get this degree, to get this job. You know, we're making good money, but I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I'm not happy. I really want to focus on starting small, creating this little brand, and having most of all the opportunity of being home with my kids, you know. And I always tell him to this day, like, you know, my husband also had a big part in me walking away from my career to really try to start this, you know. And he's like, you know, the worst thing that can happen is if it doesn't work, you could go back to work. And as soon as he said that, I was like, okay, we're going to do this. So then I started, you know, I started hustling, and I'm like, okay, I started developing my product line. I started creating even more products, like, while I was still working. So I did that for about a year. And then finally, I launched Mi Tierra while I was still working. My job had no idea that I was doing this, because there's this whole thing in the industry, like, you can't start your own brand while you're working. But luckily, during that time, I was working for a hair care company, so I couldn't do hair, but I could do skin. So I was okay.
Oh, okay.
I was okay there. And I started with, you know, deodorants and the basic necessities, things that you use on a daily basis for your skin. And I set a goal of December 1st. I knew I wanted to launch before the holidays, and I did. I was able to start that day. I had at that time I was doing trunk shows where I invited friends and family. It was a soft launch, and I was like, I'm gonna do this, and I would love your support if you could just help me just share this with your family and friends and see where it goes. And it's been like amazing ever since. It's just been a wild, like crazy ride. I still can't believe like that I'm at this point, and I feel like there's still so much more room to grow, and I want to take the brand on like a bigger scale, bigger level. But so yeah, that's how it pretty much came about. Just knowing what I know, working in the industry for so long, and then wanting to share that with people because a lot of people don't know. We often assume that excuse me, because a product is at shelf and it looks pretty and it has pretty commercials and it smells great, that it's good for us or that it's safe. And the unfortunate thing is that no one's looking out for us. There's no regulation, and the Latino community in particular is one of the largest consumers of beauty care. Like,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yep, we spend like billions of dollars a year. It's us and African Americans. We're like the top two of communities that spend the most money in the beauty sector. And the unfortunate thing is that no one is really talking to us either. Like, there's no other brands that are like Latino centric. It's all Eurocentric. And that's unfortunate because we are the ones that are fueling that little economy, so my goal is to be a change and to change that, even if it's baby steps, small steps at a time, but and make us more aware of what's inside of these products, because there's a disconnect where we are also the community that's often mostly like getting sick, and we suffer from autoimmune diseases and cancer and infertility and all these other things that kind of go in hand with health, right? With what you put not only on your body but in your body. So that's I'm on a mission to just educate people as much as I can on the importance of natural ingredients. Basic ingredients, simple ingredients that actually, to your case, like that actually work.
Yeah.
There's no need to fall for all these crazy claims, pretty pictures, ads, things like that for products that really don't have like our best interest, at heart. So
Yeah, which makes sense because like I would fall for the marketing and the advertising, and I'd purchase so many products to try and heal my kids' skin, and nothing was working. And then you hear like, oh, this brand is being recalled, or this brand needs to be taken off the shelves.
So that's actually how it's regulated. It's after the fact. So FDA, for example, it's Food and Drug Administration. They don't really regulate cosmetics. Like, there's no body that regulates the cosmetic industry. It's self-regulated. So they rely on manufacturers to say, yes, we are doing the right thing and making the right products and using the correct ingredients. But there's no check and balances. There's no one that's coming in and making sure that that's happening. It's only after the fact, after something's been recalled, after something's been on the market, and then there's complaints that the FDA will then come in and say, okay, well, let's see what's inside. And it's crazy. It's always after the fact. It's post. Once it's out, once it's been, and with the masses, then somebody comes in and looks at the ingredients.
I'm like shocked. I'm shocked.
It's insane. I mean, even as far as just ingredient regulation here in the U.S., like there's only like a handful of ingredients that have actually been banned from cosmetic use, and it's like 15, Whereas like EU regulation, it's like over 1,500. Yeah. I always tell people if you want to see where a product is made, any product that's made in the EU is a lot cleaner than the US because there's more regulation. They have checks and balances. They look at products. You can't launch a product without it being tested into the market. Like it needs to go through thorough testing. Each ingredient needs to be analyzed before it's actually put on someone's skin. And here in the US, that does not happen. So, and I was also part of that because when I was working, I did a lot of international regulation. So I had to work with our chemists to reformulate a product. Let's say it was a shampoo. It had one set of ingredients to be launched here in the US, which was cheaper. And then if you wanted that to be sold, let's say in London or, you know, in the EU regulatory body, then you had to reformulate it with better ingredients in order for it to be sold outside of the US.
No, maybe yes.
It's crazy because they would look at it and say, well, this is banned, this is banned, this is banned, this is banned. You need to reformulate this. And they would, and then sell it. So although like they're making less money, you know, to sell it across the globe, they're still making money. So I always tell people like the US is like a dumping ground of like the worst ingredients and the worst products because there's no regulation here. So a lot, oftentimes, and you'll find that in food too, like there's two formulas that are made. One formula is for the US, the cleaner formula is for the EU or other, bodies that, it's crazy. It's crazy. People, you know, don't realize that. And that's, again, you know, I think that's one of my mission and purpose is to make sure that I provide as much transparency on our products and why it matters to read ingredients and you should pay attention to what you're putting on your skin because no one's looking out for you, you know. And again, there's like a huge rise of like eczema and psoriasis and just like all these skin conditions that like I don't know about you, but like growing up, I didn't really hear about anyone having any sort of like skin sensitivity, skin issues. Like even my mom told me, yo no sé qué está pasando porque todo el mundo ya tiene estas cosas. I'm like, I know it's crazy because there's like our toxic buildup is just building up and building up and building up. You know, no one's really. It's at the end of the day, it's all about profit and how much money they can make. You know, so there's no, and what are the needs of the people? Okay, great, there's eczema, let's make these products, but there's really no true research happening, you know. They try to make it as quickly and as like cheaply as possible. Yeah.
I'm like shocked.
It's insane. Yeah, it's insane. So it's our mission to like just make cleaner ingredients.
Yeah, I am so thankful that you're informing us of all of this. Because like you said, like the Latinx community is purchasing these products without even knowing.
Yeah.
Like I'm learning so much just in this conversation. Like I always knew in the back of my mind, which is why I always looked for things that were handmade or cleaner, but I didn't realize how.
Yeah, I could go on like it's a really deep conversation on just the lack of just everything, you know, from the type of ingredients that are in there, like how most of them are made with even water. Most cosmetic products have like 80% water in them, and then the rest of them are fillers. Even when you think about like again going back to the lotion example of how does lotion typically come in? It's a pump, or you have to squeeze it out of a bottle, or you know it's convenient. You have it in your purse. Sometimes leave it in your car. All those things are considered when it's being made. So most of the ingredients in there are just for the efficacy of the product, not necessarily the efficacy for your skin. So it doesn't melt. So it can pump easily out of that bottle. So it doesn't separate. You know, so it doesn't melt.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And then with us, for example, like our body butters, like I don't sell them during the summer because they will melt. because there's nothing in there that's going to bind the ingredients together to keep them from melting. So I decided to not sell them because I can't ship them, during hot months because it'll melt. So yeah, it's a lot that goes into the manufacturing.
This is all fascinating, fascinating information.
Yeah.
I want to go back to, you said the first product that you created was the body butter.
The body butter.
From there, how did the products evolve?
Yeah. So initially we started more of a bath and body brand. From scrubs to deodorants. I even had a home collection at some point. I'm not sure if you remember that or not, but I had cleaners, natural like soaps, like hand soaps and things like that, natural air purifiers, not air purifiers, but like Febreze, like the air fresheners or whatever.
Yeah.
But as I started meeting more people, because we would do a lot of home trunk shows, so I would go into people's homes, they would invite us in, and I would go all in, about the importance of natural skincare, why they should switch, and from having these conversations with people, I would come across my son has eczema, acne, rosacea, all these other skin concerns, and they wanted more products. So from there we have evolved into more of a skincare line. So I have since then, we don't currently offer the home collection anymore, and that's simply because it's only a few hands that help make the product. So just hopefully in the future we could introduce our home collection again. But so now we have a pretty much robust skincare line, from the beauty cactus, the cactus concentrate cream, to facial serums, to facial masks, eye serums, things like that. So now we're more of a full natural skincare line. Not so much bath and body, but more skincare.
Yeah, I have the eye serum and the face serum.
The face serum, yes, our top seller.
Yeah, and I got that after the cactus cream, because I'm like, okay, if I have to share this with the kids, let me get something for me, especially now that it's the summer months. So I purchased the cactus cream because I usually have dry skin in the winter. And in the summer, I don't usually have that problem, but I love how you, on social media, really educate people in how to use the products, or now that it's getting warmer, this is what you do, this is your skincare routine. And so I'm like, okay, I need to start taking care of my skin, under my eyes. And I don't wear makeup usually, but whenever I did wear makeup, I would break out. And so then I'd have to be like, okay, is it worth it to just put on some makeup for this one event, and then I'll just
suffer for these days with the breakout.
So I wanted something that was gonna heal my skin, and that I didn't have to it would make my skin look great even without makeup, because during the day I still want to look okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I've been using the eye serum and the face serum, and it has been I don't know, it's given me a confidence boost, because I look at myself in the mirror and I'm just like, oh, I'm kind of glowing.
Yeah.
And I feel it's also evened my skin out on my face.
Yay.
Poco a poco, I feel I'm getting myself together.
See, and that's the thing that people, because we also have a lot of people that reach out to us and they want a quick fix, or, I have acne, I have rosacea, and nothing works, and how long is it going to take? We get that a lot, and I'm very honest with people. I'm not going to try to, at the end of the day, sell you something that's not going to work and it's going to be a quick fix. When you make the switch to natural, it's a transition, because your body needs to adjust and kind of detoxify from the other toxic chemicals that we've been applying, and it's going to take time, just like cuando pones una planta, plantas una semilla, how long does it take for it to flourish? Like, it's not just an overnight thing,
right.
you know? So same with natural ingredients. You have to give them an opportunity and a chance for them to work. So it's a commitment también de tu parte to be able to say, okay, I'm going to make this switch. I'm going to trust the process. I'm going to trust these ingredients to do what they need to do, and they will. You know, that's a beautiful thing about it, because that's what, you know, that's what's been around since the beginning of time. You know, todas las hierbas and las plantas y las flores, like, they all are there to help us heal. So that's the beautiful thing about natural skincare is a very little goes a long way. It's super concentrated, as I'm sure you noticed. Like, there's no water in any of the products that we create, because we don't dilute them with water. So they're super concentrated, and they work. You know, that's an amazing thing.
Yeah, I think like I just use a drop of the eye stuff.
And it's a lot.
It's
right?
a lot. Yeah.
I always tell people, like, a drop is a lot, so just like maybe a half drop.
Yeah.
That's all you need for both eyes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's super concentrated.
I can tell that there's no water or like no other ingredients, and it's so pure. And I want to go back and talk more about how, like, it's cultural. Like, all of the things that are in this in these products are from the earth.
Yeah.
And like, maybe that's how you got the name,
the
Mi Tierra.
Mi Tierra. Absolutely. So when, you know, I was brainstorming what to call the company, like, off the bat, I knew I wanted it to represent our culture. Like, no questions asked, it needed to. And again, that's because, like, we are the largest consumer, and nobody is talking to us. No one's looking out for us, you know. And that's not to say that no one else could use the products, or that I'm not going to cater to any other community, but I wanted it to represent who I was. I wanted my parents to be proud of it, most importantly, as well. I wanted my grandmothers, and, you know, I wanted to embrace, like, their legacy and the legacy that they've passed down to us, you know, and I wanted my kids to embrace that as well, like, because there are other I'm not the only natural skincare company. There's hundreds and thousands of other natural skincare lines, but no one is catering to our community, and no one had a Spanish name, you know. They're all quirky, like, and, you know, that's okay, cada quien, you know, but I wanted to make sure that we embraced our culture, because those are the things that I would remember growing up. You know, my mom always having natural remedies for everything. Her last resort was always Tylenol, like, pues, you know, if the cold bath, si el eucalyptus doesn't work, si el té de manzanilla no funciona, si la miel or whatever she had for us didn't work, then okay, let's take some Tylenol, you know. So growing up, we saw that, you know, even from mis tías, mi abuelita, always had natural remedies. And, you know, and yeah, growing up, you're like, that's what? I remember my sister, you know, she always shares her story too, how she, like, suffered from, like, body odor, you know, and she'll tell you, she's not embarrassed to talk about that. And no deodorants, like, worked for her. And mi tía Celia, que en paz descanse, she was always like, mija, ponte limón, ¿qué estás haciendo? Ponte limón y carbonato, you know, baking soda, y vas a ver, eso te va a funcionar. And we were like, what? Like, how are we going to walk around con un limón? You know? And sure enough, it worked, you know? That's what, I'm like, what would our great-grandparents do back in the day in El Pueblo?
Yeah.
I mean, BO has always, like, been around. It's not a new thing, you know? So just having these natural remedies for everything, from, you know, digestive issues to topical issues to hormonal issues to any problem that we had, there was always a natural solution for it. So I wanted to embrace that and really, really hone in on that. And that's how the name came about, De Mi Tierra, from my earth, because everything comes from the earth. You know, we, as a company, we truly believe that the earth provides us with everything that we need to live abundantly, and it does. You know, it gives so much to us, and just how our ancestors embraced all of that. I think we need to also go back to that, go back to just basic well-being, basic ways to take care of us, not run towards, because it's, as a culture, I think right now it's so easy for us to run for that pill, run for that cream, because you want something now. You know, we're in that now culture. Like, we need a fast fix, you know, we need to see results right now in order for something to work. And I think, you know, we need to go back to just a slower pace and just really trust nature, you know, to take care of us.
Yeah, I think we've all been conditioned
Exactly
to want that quick fix.
Yeah.
To just put something in the microwave and get it and eat it in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But I think, like, the millennials, now that they're having kids, they're realizing that they've been conditioned to think this way.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, no, let's go back. I want to kind of pull back or maybe disengage from this Americanized way of thinking.
Yeah.
And they're looking back to their roots and saying, like, how
was it back then?
Yeah. Because they're seeing all of these issues come up, like eczema. Like, I never had eczema, and I was shocked that my kids did. I was like, where did this go? My husband didn't either.
Yeah.
And, like, even with allergies or, like, stomach issues, like, I'm saying, okay, what can we pull back from that they're consuming, that they're putting on their bodies, so that way we can, like, have a natural remedy to it. Because it doesn't make sense to me to just, like, keep putting stuff on.
No. And that's one thing that I try to educate people a lot on, that first of all, you know, when they come, and I get messages all the time, like, you know, about eczema or rosacea or any sort of allergy, the first question I ask them is like, well, are you taking probiotics? What's your daily water intake? Like, how are you eating? Are you eating leafy greens? Like, people don't realize that our skin state is a reflection of our inner, like, digestive state. Like, that's, our skin is like the last resort. It's like the last, like, SOS. Like, something's up inside, you need to switch, you know, you're not eating something right, or something's affecting you, or, you know, causing inflammation in your gut, things like that. So it's also really important to eat as clean as you can, you know, take those probiotics, drink water, lemon water. I mean, simple things, nada complicado. Just really, it's a balance. You know, and a lot of people assume that I'm, like, vegetarian or like vegan. I'm like, oh no, I love my pozole, like my caldo de res. You know, I enjoy that. You know, but everything with moderation. But oftentimes these skin conditions do stem from something that we've eaten. And I always tell people, you know, first take care of your, like, internal health, and then topically it's a complement. It'll help, but it's not the all solution to any, like, topical problem that you may be having. So I always try to, like, educate, and people don't, even something as simple as taking a daily probiotic, people don't realize that something as simple as that could really help any sort of skin inflammation. Yeah.
Or even drinking water.
Yeah.
I know I drink too much coffee.
But that's okay. I know. I drink a lot of coffee too, but I always make sure I have, like, a cup of water next to it. So I'm like, okay, I'm okay.
Yeah, I know. I remember being, like, for dinners when I was growing up, like, it was, like, pizza rolls, Hot Pockets. And then I wondered why my stomach was, like, so messed up by the time I got to college. And I was like, I don't even know how to eat. This is, like, the first time that I was introduced to, like, salads and, like, green vegetables. Because I feel like when, especially, like, as moms, like, you're trying, like, you're so busy, and you're just like, okay, just get a pizza, just get pizza rolls. And you think that, okay, your kids are eating, they're okay.
You're providing a necessity of, like, food. You know?
But then like my son also was constantly complaining of stomach pain after like eating. And so then I had to say, okay, after what meals is he complaining? Like maybe we should cut out gluten or like, and like just testing what is affecting it. So yeah, it's your whole body.
It's your whole body. Absolutely. And it's, you know, and sometimes, like, you know, going back to what you said, like, growing up, it's what we've learned, right? Like, it's if you don't know better, you can't do better, right? So if you don't know, like, we also can't be hard on ourselves, right? Because it's a behavior that we have to unlearn first in order to learn something new. So as long as we're just aware and willing to, like, make these small changes, it doesn't need to be overwhelming. Like, oh my God, I have to, like, clean out my pantry or clean out my beauty cabinet. Like, it's just baby steps. As long as you're intentional with what you're eating and what you're putting on your body, that's like the biggest first step that you could take.
Yeah. Now that I want to continue that, because like all of this can be so overwhelming, and especially like thinking if you've never like tried any natural products or you've just gone to the store. I mean, I know my deodorant, I could use like something better, because I was also told growing up, like, oh well, you still smell, like I can still smell, like you need like the extra strength.
No.
And I'm like, I can't believe I'm sharing this like live. It's like, to everybody knows that that about me. But like, what are like small steps that people, or like how can they start thinking about this, or like just with one product, or because it can be overwhelming to think that everything that you're using is bad. Even if you don't see anything bad, like a bad reaction on your body, how can we start thinking about
just cleaner?
Yeah.
So I always recommend like two things. If you could take like just one step today, which anyone could take today, is just to start reading ingredients. You know, we need to be the biggest advocates for ourselves, because when we start like demanding cleaner ingredients, or when we just stop buying these products, like eventually, hopefully manufacturers like will adjust and will start making these changes because it's hurting their pockets, right? But the number one thing that I always recommend people do is just read the ingredients. And oftentimes when you read these ingredients, you're like, oh my God, like what is this? Like I can't even pronounce these. Like what am I looking for, right? One ingredient I always tell people to avoid is fragrance. Fragrance is something that we all understand, that we could easily read and identify on a label. But fragrance is not our friend either. Like fragrance is also the number one cause of allergies, skin irritation, and another thing that's alarming is that fragrance is considered proprietary. So fragrance could have up to like 500 different chemicals within it to make it a proprietary scent. And it's like, okay, well, you know, when you kind of hear that, you're like, well, why? Like it's just fragrance. It smells good, you know. But it's really not. It's really, it's considered proprietary and sometimes even trademarked, because manufacturers know that. And I'm going to ask you this question even now. When you go to the store and you're making a purchase and you're debating between which product to take, what's the first thing that you do?
Look at the price.
Okay, second thing that you do. Look at the price. And then what do we tend to do, like when we grab it?
Smell it.
You smell it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you smell it.
Like I'll pop the top and be like.
And you smell it.
Yeah.
So manufacturers know that. So they work really hard with strong legal teams behind them to make sure that that fragrance is proprietary. So they're not allowed to list the ingredients that are in the fragrance because of competition. So yeah, it's insane. But the fragrance is really bad because it's made off of like so many it's artificial. There's no real, if something says it's like strawberry and watermelon, there's no strawberry or watermelon in there. So it's all fake. So I always tell people avoid fragrance, number one, and you'll notice a big difference if you have sensitive skin or if you have skin irritations. As long as you eliminate fragrance, you'll see a big difference. And that goes along with anything from laundry detergent to plug-ins. Guys, Becky, don't do plug-ins, like they're so bad. Plug-ins are, and like Febreze and all those things, like they cause, it's like secondhand smoke. They cause a lot of poor indoor air quality, indoor air pollution, and it affects everything. So fragrance is the number one thing. If you could take like just one step today is to avoid products with fragrance. And then the second thing would be is avoid products with water. You know, when we look at labels again, the water is the first ingredient that you see, and initially it seems innocent. It's water. We drink it. It's good for us. It's good for the earth. Like, we wouldn't survive without it. But water is placed in cosmetics to just make more of a product. So it dilutes it. So for example, going back to like my body butter, if I wanted to make more body butter, I add water. From one jar, I can make 10, 15 if I wanted to. And it's usually products are made up of 80% water. And it's just cheap. Like, you're able to make more, sell it for cheap, or, you know, make it for cheap, sell it for more, and make money. So once you introduce water to a product, you have to add preservatives, because bacteria, mold, fungus grows in wet environments, right? And we all know that if we have mold in our house or just moldy food, it's because there's water in there. So water is what causes these organisms to grow. So all products that have water in it have preservatives in it. Even it frustrates me so much when I'm, you know, again, because I was part of the industry where it's like, oh, paraben free, stay away from parabens. Parabens are so bad. And yeah, they don't use that ingredient paraben in it, but they've just replaced it with another one, another ingredient that's not called paraben, but it's still a preservative. And preservatives are linked to they're endocrine disruptors. Like, it's crazy that I've linked a specific study on my website under deodorant, because I always tell people, if you can make it, once you do all these things, avoid fragrance, avoid water, and if you can make a first switch, if you could start today and make a switch, I would highly recommend that you start with deodorant. Deodorant is something that we apply every single day, multiple times a day in our body, and it's close to our lymph nodes, it's close to our breast tissue as men and women. You know, men also get breast cancer. And it's linked to all these diseases, and including cancer or early onset of Alzheimer's disease. Like, more and more younger people are getting Alzheimer's disease, which affects your brain, your memory. And there's a study that I have linked, where they were taking breast tissue sample, and trying to figure out, well, what chemicals can we find in this breast tissue? And it was like 99% parabens, which are the preservatives that are used to preserve your products. And you also even find them in food. It's crazy, just to keep it from going bad. And the reason they do that is because when you think about the shelf life of a product, it goes through manufacturing, but it also needs to sit in a warehouse for months at a time before it makes it to Target. And then once it gets to Target, it sits in Target's distribution center for months at a time. It sits in the middle of the sea and ships when it's being transported across the country. So there's like a lot of back end things that happen to make a product work and not melt and not go bad during this whole transition before you even buy it. So that's why it's crazy. That's why all these like ingredients exist. So again, I always tell people, just avoid fragrance, avoid water, and start with the deodorant if you can. Okay. Make the switch to a natural deodorant. Yeah.
That's good to know, because even as my kids are getting older, they're going to be starting puberty.
Yeah.
And like, I want better for them.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I want to know, like, the products that I'm giving them to use are going to be healthy for them.
Right, yeah.
So that it's not like...
You're not adding to that toxic load. Because we're, unfortunately, there's things that we can't control, right? Like, we can't fully control like environmental factors. Like although we as a community we are involved and we try to contribute to like lowering the whole like greenhouse effect, that's pollution and things like that, it's a small part in the big picture, right? But something that we could fully control is what goes on inside our homes and what we put on our bodies. And that's one way we could definitely reduce that toxic buildup, is just by controlling what we're putting on our skin and into our bodies. And I tell our customers and that our customers that reach out to us, if you could start your kids with natural deodorant, like as they grow up, they're not going to know any other way, right, than using these natural products, because that's what they've been using. That's what works for them, and it's just it's just so simple ingredients. Like in our deodorants, it's shea butter, coconut oil, yucca, which is arrowroot. That's what helps keep you dry. Essential oils to keep the odor away, and they work. It's just. And it just upsets me so much when I see these commercials like for Secret, and Secret's always like, they have this little jingle even that's like, no stress, less sweat, like don't sweat, and it's like, oh, I want to like, it drives me crazy because I'm like, it's normal to sweat. Like our bodies are meant to sweat. It's our way of regulating. It's our way of lowering our body temperature when we're sick. It's our way of detoxifying. Like there's nothing wrong with sweating, and when you're in stressful situations, what do? You tend to sweat, that's your body releasing adrenaline, it's a beautiful process. And why, again, we're being conditioned to think that it's bad. As a woman, you shouldn't be sweating. You shouldn't smell. Like, yes, nobody wants to smell, but there's no need to apply aluminum, that's what's inside these antiperspirants, aluminum, metal, to clog our pores to prevent you from sweating. Like, what? Like, people don't realize that whenever, I hold these, like, pre-COVID, we would have these workshops, and I would bring traditional, like, deodorants into the class. I'm like, let's read the ingredients together. They would be shocked to find that, like, traditional antiperspirants have up to 25% aluminum in it. And I'm like, and I would have aluminum in my hand, like, this is it. There's no other like word for it. It's not covering anything up. It's aluminum. Yeah. And that just builds up into our body, and it's a metal. So it's crazy. It's crazy, and I'm like the biggest advocate for that. Yes, not do that.
I know, and I think it's because we, like, when we're young, we get shamed for smelling
and smelling,
yeah, whether it's in school or, like, in my case, my mom was just like, you smell like you need something stronger. It goes back to that shame, and then, like, it's perpetuated by the ads, and so, like, okay, there's something that can help me, I'm gonna buy it.
And it works. It'll stop you from sweating, but at what cost? At what cost?
Exactly.
It's insane. So if you guys are listening, look at your deodorant and check if there's aluminum in there, and oftentimes you'll find that there is.
We talked about so much, but it's all amazing information and really good information, especially for the Latinx community to hear by a Latina. I feel like I trust information more when the person who is telling me the information about my body or even my mental health is someone who can relate to my experiences. So I think this is so beneficial. It's a really beneficial conversation to have.
That's
and
amazing.
Thank
you.
Yes, I'm so thankful to be talking with you about all of this stuff.
Thank you.
Because this is the first time that I'm hearing some of this information. And to hear it from a Latina is powerful.
Thank you so much. That means so much to me. And again, that's our goal as a company, is just to be as transparent as possible. Like there's nothing to hide. I want everyone to be as educated as possible, just on what they're applying on their skin every day.
We have some product here.
Yay!
And this is like, I purchased this stuff. I purchased this face serum, the Radiance face serum, and this eye serum that I've been using for about a month now, and I love it.
And it'll last you like forever. Like this is gonna last you for at least 6 months. Like it's gonna last you a really long time.
And then this is the cactus cream that has been like amazing for me. I used it on my face, and then also for my son and my daughter for eczema. And then you just came out with this.
Yay!
Yeah, do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, so this is our new travel trial size kit because a lot of customers were asking us for just smaller sizes because although these are small, we do have like bigger, like facial, a facial mist, a body oil, things like that. So they wanted to have something more compact to be able to travel with or even gift. So this is our new trial size, and it comes in a nice little bag. I love it. It's a natural canvas bag, and it has all the products that you need for like a weekly skincare routine for like your face primarily. So it has our mini sugar scrub. It has a cleansing oil, which I don't know if you've tried before. You're gonna love it. So our cleansing oil is a natural way to like clean your skin at the end of the day, to remove any makeup, dirt, grime, without using any harsh chemicals like or detergents that are in soaps. So this is a really popular one, so I'm excited for you to try this one. Just be careful with your eyelashes.
Yeah, I know.
Try not to go too hard there because it is oil based.
Yeah.
And it also has everything in trial size. So we have a little pouch here with our mask. This is our matcha green tea, té verde.
I did buy the oatmeal one.
Oh, yeah.
And I love it.
The oatmeal is amazing. That's my go-to mask right now. So this is matcha. This is great for like the summer if you have like more oily prone skin. It's great. It's a really good one to use. It has a travel size face serum as well, and a little convenient roller to travel with it. And then the facial mist. I'm not sure if you've tried it before. So this is a mini facial mist, which you could also use. I like to carry it in my bag if I'm going to be out wearing my mask. I like to, I don't know about you, like after wearing it for even 20 minutes, it feels really tight and dry.
Yes.
Yeah. Ugh,
it does.
It's terrible. So you could just use this and spray your face after wearing the mask. Yeah. So yeah, and it also comes with a little handout. Because again, I know we get a lot of questions on how to use it. What do you do first? You know, what do I apply? So it comes with a little step-by-step on how to use each product. So I'm really excited about this. I think it was a nice way to introduce the Mi Tierra to a lot of new people. A little bit more cost effective, of course, you know, to be able to try everything before you kind of commit to a full size. Yeah, so it comes with everything that you need for a weekly facial.
Yes, thank you so much for bringing that.
For sure, yeah.
I'm so excited to try that stuff because I've loved everything else that I've purchased so far. Like everything.
Thank you.
So great.
Thank you. Okay.
So what is one piece of encouragement or advice that you would give to the next generation?
One piece of advice, to just start. I think oftentimes we, as just a community or just people in general, we kind of second guess ourselves a lot. Second guess like our resources. Do I have enough? Do I know enough? Can I do this? And oftentimes, as long as you just start with any goal, any intention that you have, anything that you want to do in life, is just start with what you have, and you figure things out along the way. Hay un dicho que dice like procrastination is like, ¿cómo dice? Procrastination is like, oh my god, I'm lost for words, but try not to procrastinate.
Yeah.
Just get started with what you have, with what you know, and you figure things out along the way.
Yeah.
You don't need to have like the best of anything or the most of anything. Just with what you have, with what you know, just get started.
Yeah, because like how you started with like learning about the process of these products, and then starting with just one and growing from there and listening to what people needed.
Yeah.
And now, like, you have so many products and I love that you're trying to help other people and educate them. I feel like if you are not following on social media, you give a lot of great tips on the products to use, on how you use them in your daily life. And then just the process of building a small business. I love how you share, like, the orders that come in, and you're just like,
it still amazes me. Like, every time I get, like, as a small business owner, you know, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of dedication and wonder too. Like, are people resonating with my brand, with the products? So anytime an order comes in, it's like, like, it's so much joy, so much happiness. Like, wow, like, people are trusting me with their hard-earned money. Even, you know, they're making a commitment to my company, to my brand, for themselves. So I love to share that. Like, I'm a real person behind this brand. Like, there's no big company with big, you know, profits in mind. Like, I'm here to help you, because when I help you, you help me. Like, it's just a beautiful dance, you know, between me and my customer. And in the future, I hope not to change that. I still want to keep it, like, small, handmade, and not you know, not sell out to any big manufacturer that may come knocking on the door. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think you'll keep your integrity. I think you're good. And I love how you share, like, behind the scenes too. Like, you can see that you're making, like, it's you making the scrubs and the products, and they're all fresh.
Everything is fresh. I always make sure that I make small batches. You know, it's easy for me to make a big batch if I really wanted to, but I want to keep the integrity of the product, the integrity of the ingredients, the essential oils that I use. I want to make sure that what people are getting was literally made like a week or two ago. You know, so what you're getting is, like, the freshest of the freshest. Like, and it's a beautiful thing, you know, to know that you're getting something that was not only handmade, but just as fresh and as it could be. So, and that you're putting that on your skin. Like, it's such a nice process.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I am so inspired to, like, continue using your products, but also continue adding on to what I'm using. I feel like the next thing is the deodorant.
Yes, you know, and I was gonna bring you a deodorant. I'm like, I don't know if she has it. I should have. Yeah.
No, it's okay. I'll go on the site and I'll make the switch.
Yes.
I feel like that is, like, the thing that I've been most self-conscious about switching, because of the things that I was taught as a kid. Like, I don't want to smell, and if it's natural, maybe it won't work because I'm like, I need extra strength. No. And now that everyone knows that I have, like, strong sweat glands, but yeah, I think this whole conversation has been amazing, filled with so much information. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for sharing. This was really great.
Thank you so much. It was such an honor to be here, and I'm glad that you found it useful. And I know I can talk a lot about about these things, but I'm here to help.
Yeah, thank you. Where can people find you on a social media website?
Yeah, so our website is demitierranatural.com. And you can find us on Instagram and Facebook, de Mi Tierra Natural, as well.
Okay. Yeah. I'll be sure to include all the links in the show notes and at the end of the video, because everyone needs to go follow.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much.
I'm so glad to have had this conversation in person, especially because we got to talk through her actual products there at the end. But as you heard, I was shocked by so many things that she talked about, especially when it came to the realities of the cosmetic industry. I hope you're inspired to take small steps towards looking at the products you use on a day-to-day basis, especially so we can teach our kids how to be mindful about what they put on their bodies. This whole conversation was so good, and I will share that I have purchased deodorant since and will be making the switch to natural deodorant. I also want to give a shout out to Vanessa and Elio from 41 Films for being our video crew and producing this episode. Okay, amigos, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this conversation, please share, rate on Apple Podcasts, take a screenshot to post on Instagram at Elevating La Cultura, or send me a DM. You can also comment on our YouTube video if you're watching online. I always like to hear from people and how they resonate with the stories that I share. So, enjoy the rest of your day, afternoon, evening, whenever you're listening, y nos vemos next time. Bye!